Good morning. It is such a great day to have synchronicity. I am so excited for our next guest. We have the owners of Just Heal with us today, Dr. Suzy Q and Gabrielle Prevel. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. I'm so excited that you had the opportunity to carve some time out with us today and talk about such a really important subject. So before we jump in, tell us about you and your practice. So Dr. Suzy Q, we will start with you.
Hi, guys. I am Dr. Suzy Q, also known as Dr. Cook. So I am an occupational therapist by trade, and I specialize in mental health and how it impacts physical function. So it's important to know that the mind and body is all connected into one. And then we have Gabby. She is the co-owner of Just Heal. So I'll let you talk about yourself, Gab.
Yes, thank you. So I'm currently in my third year of my grad program right now. I'm studying to become a licensed marriage and family therapist. A part of me really wishes that we would get rid of that term and just call it relationship therapy or even like family systems therapy. People kind of get that mixed up and think we only work with marriage couples or just relationships. We work with a wide variety of clients. Aside from being a student, I'm also an intake and assessment clinician. So really just assessing clients, seeing why they're in therapy, any therapeutic goals they have, and why they're in therapy.
Really nice. Good stuff. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. So before we kind of dive into everything, tell us about Just Heal. What is your organization? What's it about? And why is it important to the community? Dr. Suzy Q? Or Gabby, how about you?
Me? Okay. So Just Heal, I would say we were inspired by Just Heal to really give like a voice and bring more awareness to the toxic mother community, narcissistic abuse survivors. Because I feel like a lot of mothers, that's like a very sacred persona that people hold very close to them and also very protected. So a lot of people are not really aware of narcissistic moms. They hear more about like narcissistic partners, relationships, friendships, but you don't really hear like the mother aspect of that and how that kind of that trauma carries on into your adult life. Mm-hmm. So just really bringing a voice to more people to educate more people on toxic moms, what your toxic mom may have looked like, and what that looks like for you as an adult, as well as connecting the mind, body, and soul all together because everything is all connected. So.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Go ahead.
To piggyback on what Gabby is saying, I felt like, the toxic mom is never really addressed. We always hear about toxic dads, absent dads, deadbeat dads, but nobody really talks about that first connection between mother and child, how often mothers are typically their daughter's first bully. No one wants to address that. No one wants to address how the mother and child dynamic impacts healing, growth, and possible relations with the father. A lot of times we see a mom and dad break up and they don't know how to separate the breakup from themselves and the children. Meaning basically, we're not together, so you can't be a part of the kid's life, or I'm going to control this narrative. So it's a lot of people walking around with father wounds, not realizing that 9 times out of 10, mom is typically the culprit. So they are pulling the strings behind the damage and, hiding their hands. So I felt like it was a good idea to really like get to the nitty gritty of things and address what's really going on in our community. You often hear about deadbeat dad, but no one wants to talk about what mom did. Mom is off limits, but mom is the reason why a lot of us carry a lot of damage, a lot of trauma, a lot of wounds. And in order to break generational curses and trauma, we have to get to the origin of the problem. Not saying that dad is exempt, but I'm saying it's time to talk about the mother damage that is caused in relationships as well.
Yeah, really good stuff. And I have to say, that is what really attracted me to this organization, because narcissistic personality disorder is like the new sexy, right? I hear it in session all the time. Like, everybody is narcissistic. And I'm thinking to myself, only 1% of the population has NPD, right? So it seems like people really gravitate to this diagnosis and to some of the traits that a person may have. But when I seen it, it's in, and when I hear it, it's always in relation to relationships, right? He was narcissistic, she was narcissistic. But when I was reading about your organization, I was like, narcissistic moms, this is interesting, right? So I said I had to get these ladies on the couch. So I'm so glad that you're here. Talk to us a little bit about narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
You want to go first, Gab?
I can go. So narcissistic personality disorder. So we can like really break this whole term down. I feel like, as you mentioned earlier, like narcissistic is like a hot buzzword these days. It's kind of being thrown around a lot. He's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. But what really separates a person with narcissistic personality disorder versus a person who may just be narcissistic is like the persistent pattern of their behavior. So it's a personality, so it develops over time. It's more like the persistent pattern, like the grandiosity that they may give off. So I'm sure we've all met someone or encountered a person who may be a narcissist, but they don't necessarily have a personality disorder. So you may see people who are selfish, but really the NPD is just like egocentric individuals who have like this inflated perception of their self-worth, their image.
And to jump in and piggyback on that, I think we all may carry some narcissistic traits, right? Because we all have a sense of ego, right? We operate off of ego, confidence, self-esteem. We have a little bit of selfishness, but like Gab says, it's distinct patterns and behaviors. And so with narcissistic personality disorder, let me just say this: a narcissist is created. Meaning 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with somebody who is narcissistic, they got that from somewhere. I can say that maybe an only child or a baby child or a golden child can be praised as a narcissist. You know, just throwing it out there. So say you have an only child and they're the only child for 5 years, 10 years, or whatever the case may be. And, you know, they're put on a pedestal and their achievements and their accomplishments are put on a pedestal and they can't do any wrong. And the parents doesn't teach any accountability and it's never their child. It's, oh, that's not my child, it's your child, and blah, 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 blah. They're typically created. Not only that, when you see a narcissistic person, 9 times out of 10, one of their parents are narcissistic as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so a narcissist is coming from a narcissistic parent. So that's one. And then to be clinically diagnosed as a narcissist, you have to have 5 traits. So that could be the grandiosity, that could be gaslighting, manipulation, and it's a few others, but it needs to be 5 clinical traits that they have displayed for 6 months or more. And, you know, it develops over time. You'll start seeing it in childhood, and then boom, by the time they're early adults, they can be diagnosed as full-blown narcissistic personality disorder because, you know, it's been happening over time. That personality has developed from childhood early on into, you know, adult stages.
Really good. And one of the things that I have noticed in my time working with individuals that are on the spectrum for NPD, may not be a full-blown narcissist, but have some of the traits, right? But don't meet that diagnostic code of having 5 or more, is that they lack empathy. Right? They just don't empathize with individuals, you know, and I'll have survivors of NPD who talk about how, you know, I just wanted an apology. I just wanted them to understand. I just wanted to be seen. And that person in their life just did not have the ability to empathize with what they were going through. Another thing I had noticed was that individuals with NPD seem to be really hard to work with, right? So would you guys say that this is a disorder that you can overcome, or once you are diagnosed with NPD, that's just the end all be all. Gabby, we'll start with you and then go to Dr. Suzy Q.
I'm going to say, well, starting off with the individuals in a therapeutic setting, it's very rare for individuals to even be in a therapy office who have personality disorders, let alone narcissism, because they don't think anything is necessarily wrong with their behavior. So it's not really common to see them in a therapy office. If they are, they're coming to maybe figure out why others are reacting, responding to how they are. It's a personality, so it's innate. You know, it develops over time and then it's here with you for good. So necessarily you cannot change a narcissist. It's who they are.
Yeah. Dr. Suzy Q.
And I think Gab's absolutely right. And they're not going to go to therapy. That's number one. If they do go to therapy, they're basically going to save face. They're doing it because you want them to go. Mm-hmm. They're typically not going to reap the benefits unless, you know, they're really curious about, you know, why people are saying these things about them. And see, with the narcissist, the thing is they have two personas, right? They're with you one way, which can be terrible. But to the outside world, nobody will ever know that's how they act. Mm-hmm. And their appearance and their what's the word I'm looking for? Reputation is everything to them. So if you go and tell somebody how they truly are, they're angry. You set off something because they save face. You know, they're two-faced individuals. You know, very much so two-faced. You know, they're with you one way and then outside in the community, total different person. Mm-hmm. In order to heal, you have to have a sense of awareness. These people do not have that sense of awareness because, again, it was developed over time from childhood. It was ingrained in them. You know, there were no self-awareness. There was no accountability in any of their behaviors. So they see nothing wrong with anything that they're doing. Besides, their parental figures allowed it. Yeah. So, you know, us coming in as therapists or as a spouse or as a friend or even as a child, we can't do anything to change that unless they really want to do the work. And 9 times out of 10, they're okay with who they are. Mm-hmm. And like you said, they have no ability to show empathy.
Yeah. Another thing, I'm so intrigued by this subject, right? I can go on and on, but another thing I have noticed with survivors in the clinical setting is they talk about something called love bombing, right? And so they say in the beginning, he or she or mom or dad or whatever the situation was so loving and so attentive, and I was their world, and they did everything for me and made me feel like the sun and the moon. And then after some time, right, once they're kind of like dug in, it was an absolute 365-degree change, right? And then the person says, I'm just trying to get that person back that I fell in love with. Could you guys speak to the love bombing and the other one, which is the gaslighting part of this disorder?
Okay. Yep. Let me just say this. First of all, I mean, this is more along the line of relationships, but, you know, I could talk about the parents as well. Okay, love bombing. Yeah, that's how they get you. Mm-hmm. Their persona, the person that you're seeing when you first meeting them, is a mask. Mm-hmm. And then the mask comes off. Mm-hmm. And people wait forever to get that person that they originally met, fell in love with, liked, whatever the case may be, back. The problem is it was a mask. It's fake. It's a persona. You're never going to get that back. Mm. Once that mask comes off, that's who they are. They're showing you that's their true colors. Goodbye. Because that's who they are. You know, they bamboozled you. They hoodwinked you. Yeah. You know, they catfished you. They catfished you. Like, you know, you were catfished. Mm-hmm. They got in good, and then
that's it.
That's who they are. Mm-hmm. As a parent, I would say, as for a parent, I think a parent that is a narcissist never really provides that love bombing. Well, I'm not going to say never because it depends what type of narcissistic parent that you have. So let me just say that because there are different types of narcissism, and our our community and in our practice, we will uncover the different types of narcissism. So as for parents, yeah, they can love bomb you until you do something wrong. You do something they don't agree with, or you don't meet their standards anymore. Then they strip everything that you ever done good away from you. They like tear you down, right? Then you have some narcissists that does not lack empathy, so they can't give you anything at all. That's what you call emotionally unavailable. They don't have the capacity to empathize with you. They don't have the capacity to love bomb you. They just cannot give it. So it depends on what type of narcissist you're dealing with. You had the covert, overt. It's just so many different types. So
Scary stuff. Gabby, what would you like to add?
I was gonna add, like, before you deal with any type of like narcissist, they'll hover over you. So like the narcissistic hover. So they'll kind of like, they may like send you a text, or if we're talking about mom. So for your mom, she may poke around, she may drop by your house. I just want to see my grandkids. I just came to see how you are. But there's always motive behind their behavior. As far as like the love bombing, they may shower you with like gifts, admiration. But again, like, it's just motive behind to get what they absolutely want.
Definitely. So to circle back on the moms, could you ladies tell us about what made you want to start a support group for survivors of survivor people who have survived mothers with MPD?
Because a lot of us experience that and we don't talk about it. It's like the forbidden topic. And I am a shit starter. So it's like, I'm going where, nobody goes. And it's like, okay, these are what some young girls experience, and it impacts us growing up as adults, and it goes into our relationships with our significant others and with our children. And it just becomes a generational trauma. So how do we stop that? We have to talk about it instead of continuously sweeping things under the rug. It's time to address and deal with it. So, I felt like it was very much so needed. And nobody wants to go there.
Yeah. You're right. Gabby, what would you add?
I would add, just to kind of like go off, like just adding that, I mentioned before, like moms is like that very like sacred whole like mantra, like you don't talk about people's moms, you don't talk about my mom. So I think a lot of people, as they get older, they're starting to really see like a lot of these traits my mom has as well kind of match like this NPD criteria. So again, like just continuing like to be a voice for people who are still on their journey, haven't started their healing journey yet, and just trying to figure out how to cope with having a mom like this.
Some people may not even be aware of what is going on, but they know that, their mom is explosive, their mom is manipulative, their mom is a triangulator, their mom is overbearing, and they don't understand what's really going on. So, bringing awareness helps people know that this is a real thing and that you're not by yourself. This is real.
Or some people even may be aware that their mom is like this, but to them it's normalized. Yeah, my mom always, disrespects me, exploits me, always manipulative. But to them, like, it's just, my mom has always been that way. It's my mom.
That's their normal, right? And so they don't even see that this is toxic and unhealthy, right? And so kind of piggybacking off of that, what are some of the long-term effects that a narcissistic mother has on her children?
Wow. Deep. I would say when you see a lot of young girls and women with low self-esteem, low value, low self-worth, that stems from their early childhood interaction, with mom. So those are some of the traits that you would see in women, and not even just women, even boys who have narcissistic mothers.
Yeah. Gabby, anything to add to that?
Yes. So I would add that, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I got lost in my thoughts.
Yep, no problem. I was just asking, what do you think, or what are some of the long-term effects that a survivor would have from having a mother with NPD?
Okay. So I would definitely start off with saying that any trauma that, someone experienced from their mom in their childhood is definitely going to be projected in their adult romantic relationships. So how does that look? So maybe anxious avoidant attachment with your partners. You may have a low self-esteem, low self-confidence. There's a long list of things I could add, but
yeah.
Definitely that anxious attachment, because it's always a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection, a fear of, am I not good enough? A lot of times people seek outside validation because they were never validated, from their mom, because invalidation is a big form of narcissism. If you tell them they're wrong or they hurt you, they're going to find every way to not take accountability and invalidate you. So as you get older, you start questioning yourself. Did this really happen? Is this really real? You don't know how to validate yourself or your own experiences. So you're going to always seek it from outside sources. So, Just Hill, we want to teach people how to overcome that, to recognize it first, and then how to overcome it.
Good stuff. What are some ways that a person could identify a narcissist in their life? Dr. Suzy Q, we'll start with you.
So some ways to be able to identify a narcissist. It's going to be hard to tell at first unless you know what a narcissist is, because again, they wear that face mask. But if you know what narcissism is and you start seeing some of the red flags, just stay in tune with your gut feeling. That's number one. And number two, you can tell that they're narcissists. Okay, say if you say, well, mom, what you said really offended me. And they start saying things like, all I've done for you and you're overreacting. And, well, that's just how I am. Take it or leave it. That could be a form of it. If you try to tell them, I'm upset by this. This happened to me. And they go into, well, this happened to me. And how do you think I feel? And blah, 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 blah. Again, invalidating you. Gaslighting can look like, that's not real. That didn't happen, although that it really did happen. So those are some ways to identify if that's, what's going on, and if they do have those narcissistic personality traits.
One thing that I've seen on social media, which I try to stay off of, was that if you are Googling what is a narcissist, you're probably involved with the narcissist.
Absolutely.
100%.
And they will drain you. It's just an emotional roller coaster. And I'm talking about with moms and in the relationships. It's never a smooth ride. It's either really high highs or really low lows. Like either you're getting along with your mom or you're not talking to her. It's never in between. Typically moms, if there are other children involved, they will do something called triangulate. So, you can just put mom here and you have a sibling here. And what mom will do is put the siblings against each other. So if mom is mad at one sibling, she wants everybody to be mad at that sibling. If you tell mom something, she's going to tell your business to the rest of the family. And then when you come back and say something, she's going to play the victim and act like she had nothing to do with it when she is the problem from the beginning.
So what would you say, what are some steps to take if your mother is a narcissist?
Set boundaries.
Oh, go ahead.
Boundaries.
Yes, I'm really big on boundaries, but I feel like before you can even start with the boundaries, you really need to, you might say, check yourself, check your expectations. You know what I mean? So check your expectations and really be mindful of who your mom is. And then you can start the whole the journey of itself. Because when you check your expectations, you know how your mom is. You know she's not going to change. It's more like acceptance of her behavior and who she is as a person. And you can accept her, but you don't necessarily have to have her in your life around you.
I would, just to piggyback off of that, I would definitely say boundaries are very, very important. Lowering your expectations, understanding what this person is able to give you and what they're not capable of giving you. Typically, it's not that they don't want to. They are broken individuals, broken children living in adult bodies, meaning they had their own traumatic experiences, childhood, and they are just not capable of giving you or meeting your needs. So definitely setting boundaries, definitely lowering your expectations and accepting them for who they are, and you won't get hurt. And I'm talking about mom. If it's a relationship, you could say, hey, I'm out the door. But mom is mom. And, I think we have that thing in us where it's like, okay, that's my mom. I have to deal with her, but it's okay to love and deal with mom from arm's length if she's impacting your mental health and causing you further trauma and damage. So just setting up appropriate boundaries is very big and important.
Yeah, really good advice. Go ahead, Gabby. You look like you were about to say something.
I just wanted to add, like, boundaries are very important, but like also set boundaries that you yourself can uphold. Because I know it's easy for people to just set a boundary with your mom. Just don't talk to your mom. But it may be hard to do that if your mom lives with you or is very active in your kid's life. She's the grandmother. So set boundaries that you yourself can uphold with her. Even if she is around, you can try not to over-engage with her, because they like to have that like back and forth, kind of like a up one you kind of behavior. Creating like a safe distance from her. So just kind of like taking it like inch by inch.
Good advice. One thing that I had seen just with trying to understand MPD a lot better to support clients in session is that individuals that have this disorder, despite the grandiosity and thinking that they're better than other people, underneath all of that, they really have low self-esteem and low self-worth, right? And so that, like Dr. Suzy Q was talking about the mask, that seems to be a facade, that grandiosity and I'm better than you and all of that, because inside they seem to have like really, really low self-esteem. And so that's one thing to kind of keep in mind when dealing with this population.
That comes with that broken child. And I really feel like because I know we said, narcissism is innate. It's a personality disorder. But I believe that if we all took the time to heal that inner child, then that can be addressed. But a lot of times, again, I feel like a lot of times we're separated. So it's the inner child and then it's us when it needs to be integrated. You need to heal that inner child, because the more that you ignore your inner child, the more they're going to scream out for attention and help and to have a voice. And so, like you said, when they have that very low self-esteem and that low self-worth, it comes from, something that happened in their childhood typically, and it just went unresolved and unaddressed. And to put up that protective barrier in that protective mode, they created a persona to the world. And it's not a very nice persona.
Yeah. Scary stuff. Definitely scary stuff. So what would you ladies say if a person has been exposed to MPD abuse? What are some steps that they can take to heal?
I would say you could definitely start off with acceptance, accepting that this is innate behavior, a personality. She's not going to change. And I also would say give yourself like some grace as well. Give your time to kind of grieve who you thought your mom was, or the type of mom you would have wanted who you needed when you were a child, and she couldn't be that person because of her own trauma background. So more like forgiveness for yourself more than like for the narcissistic mom.
I think that's really good. I think definitely understanding that mom is a person outside of the title mom.
Mm.
And I think that's what worked for me. Because me and my mom always had like a rocky relationship, but I had to do some healing work myself and understand that, okay, she's not capable of giving me what I need, but I have other mother figures in my life that do give me what I need. And that's okay. So one, understanding that mom is a person. Take away the title, she's a person. That person has their unresolved trauma and issues from whatever happened to them in their life. That allows you to have compassion for that person. That doesn't mean you have to accept their behaviors and accept abuse, but it's just a better level of understanding, empathy, and compassion for you. And then getting what you need from other mother figures in your life will help. And, just having some self-compassion for yourself and trying to not be what you dislike so much. Because a lot of times we become what we hate and don't even realize it. We become our mothers, especially if you don't do the work.
Yeah, good stuff. Really good stuff. So you ladies are taking so much time and energy to pour into this population that has survived narcissistic personality disorder and who are trying to heal from what they have been exposed to and to educate them on what's happening in their brain based off of what they have been exposed to. How do you pour back into yourself? What stress reduction techniques do you currently utilize? So, Dr. Suzy Q, let's start with you and then go to you, Gabby.
It's crazy because I a couple years ago I had no self-care techniques. I feel like internal self-care techniques. Like I like get my hair done, nails, feet, pedicure, spas, all of that. Internally, I wasn't doing the work. Now I do. So I'm big on meditation. I follow Deepak Chopra a lot. So he's like my go-to guru. I love Peter Levine. So like I read their books. I listen to their lectures. I work out. I meditate. I stretch. I just take that time to myself, and I rest when I need to rest.
Good, really good stuff. What about you, Gabby?
I would say I really like to self-reflect a lot. I do a lot of self-reflecting. I like to set the tone and the mood for my self-reflection. So make sure I'm like always like by myself. I definitely love to journal. Journal is like a really big part of like my self-healing as well. I write letters to people who things I wanted to always say, I've never said before. And just like journaling, just talking to myself essentially, but just putting it in writing. Yeah.
I journal as well, and I didn't get into the habit of that until about like last year, and I completed my first journal book, and I was like so excited. It was a journal of gratitude. So each night I just wrote like what I was grateful for, and it had its prompts in there. But I think we get wrapped up in the negative that's going on that we don't focus on at least the good that's going on as well. So journaling is definitely good. Just being in a state of gratefulness and presence. Oh, I do mindful meditation and deep breathing techniques. It's just like good.
Good stuff. Yes, really good tips on how to take care of yourself and how to self-regulate, right? And how to ground. So really good advice and really good tips that you shared with us. What else? What else would you like to tell us that we have not went through this morning? How could someone find you if they be like, you know what, you are bowling down my alley. My mom is a narcissist and that explains a whole bunch of things. I need you in my life. How could a person find you?
We are on Instagram. We do have a TikTok, but we're not like doing videos and stuff yet. And we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. And it's _JustHeal_. And then, our email is, what is it? JustHeal, Mind, Body, Soul, MBS @gmail.com. So they can find us that way. And pretty soon we're probably going to be hosting like, like little group circle sessions and stuff like that, the self-healers session. So we're just trying to get everything together for that to prepare and just have some like good techniques for them, like deep breathing, meditation, good stretches, good self-care routines and techniques. It looked like Gabby might have got kicked out of the meeting.
Yep, it does. But we were ending, so
Okay.
so really good. So I'm going to make sure that all the information for you guys is tagged under the video. Make sure that all of your contact information is tagged. So when you have them healing circles, individuals will be able to join. Gabby, was there any final thoughts that you wanted to leave us with?
Yes. So I would definitely say follow us on all of our platforms and just continue to be your own voice. Look for your voice. If you don't know how to do that, you can look to us for guidance, and we can be your voice until you find yours when it comes to dealing with like toxic moms and narcissistic moms.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for coming out today and joining us this morning. You have really educated us on not just NPD, but what that could look like in a mother and some of the things that can happen in a person if they've been exposed to a mom that has these traits. Until next time, my goal for you, my wish for you is to continue to be brave, be magical, and above all else, be well. Thanks so much.
Thank you.